Blessings, 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 my sports to the bone people. Back at it again with another cricket update. Hope everybody is doing well. Now, CPL 2025 is over. And I must say that we were treated to some good games. You know, we had some entertainment in some of the games. So I want to say hats off to all the players that took part in CPL 2025. Now, my regular viewers and subscribers know how I like to do it over here. When it comes on to CPL, IPL, Big Bash League, whatever the franchise cricket is, whatever the franchise league is, I'm always looking for the entertainment, yes, but I'm always looking at the same time to see if there are any youngsters coming through, and especially when it comes on to CPL, I'm always looking to see how the Caribbean youngsters how they are performing, because we're always looking for the next quote-unquote big thing coming out of CPL to make their way into the West Indies team. No, and obviously, when we see the talented players coming through, what's happening now is that they are being shuffled straight towards T20. It's not like we identify them and say, yeah, man, let's, even though they performed well in the T20 league, let's make sure that they are playing some red ball cricket to further develop and enhance whatever skill or talent we have there. But what we're going to do in this video, going to be taking a look at the top bowlers and the top batsmen coming out of CPL 2025. I'm also going to be highlighting some players that they probably didn't outperform a lot of people, but I will say that I'm happy that they at least gave a good account of themselves in a few games. Now, one thing is, we already know it's franchise cricket. It's not owned by CWI, but coming out of CPL, I always like to see when our local people top the run chart and the bowling chart, right? I mean, we have a couple of guys on there, but it's mostly overseas players that are dominating, and some retired players that are also doing pretty well. So if we should look at the top run scorers coming out of CPL 2025, I'll probably give you like the top 6 or so are thereabout. We have Shea Hope right on top of that list. Happy to see that our all-format captain is there. He is current, playing international cricket. I always want to see those guys outshining the overseas players, the retired players, because that is just my mindset. Even though it's not CWI owned and operated league, right, I still want to see the active players shining. So Shea Hope, he scored 491 runs and 12 matches, 491 runs, and that's at an average of 49, right? So Shea Hope doing very well there, strike rate of 127. Second, we have the former West Indies player Nicholas Pooran, 13 innings, 426 runs, strike rate of 133. So striking very good there, right? Average of 42.60. Nicholas Pooran leading his team TKR to victory in this year's staging. Shea Hope's top score 82, Nicholas Pooran 90, not out. Third on the list, we have an overseas player, Colin Munro. He was vital to TKR winning this tournament. In 13 innings, he scored 416 runs, high score of 120, average of 32, strike rate of 162. So Colin Munro doing pretty well. Fourth, we have Tim Cypher representing St. Lucia Kings, scoring 396 runs with a top score of 125, not out. You guys will remember that blistering innings there from Tim Cypher, right? We're talking about strike rate of 169, average of 44, so doing well. We have another overseas player here, Alex Hales, who was also pivotal in TKR going on to win that tournament. 386 runs, average of 38, strike rate of 127. Not the highest strike rate, but he was always there for them, always there. We on the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have another former West Indies player, Karen Pollard, actually doing pretty well for his captain and team Nicholas Pooran. for his captain Nicholas Puran and the team. You know, he scored 383 runs, average of 54.71, strike rate of 174, coming up clutch quite a few times for TKR. Also did pretty well in the finals. You know, think it was 3 6s that he got in the back end to make sure that there was no panic as they chased down the target there to win. So that's the top 6, my viewers and subscribers. You have other guys that didn't do too badly, but that's the top 6. I will talk a little bit about the other players further down. So that is it when it comes on to the run scoring. So you would realize that we have Shea Hope, Nicholas Puran, Karen Pollard. They're in the top 6. The others, we have a few overseas players. You know, only one active West Indies player getting in that top 6 there, or captain Shea Hope. Now, when it comes on to the bowling department, Imran Tahir in 12 matches, 23 wickets, right? 23 wickets. So Imran Tahir doing pretty well. Economy of 7.20, average of 15.04, right, for his 23 wickets. Usman Tariq, another overseas spinner, and you would realize that the spinners really and truly dominated this tournament, as is the case when you have a lot of West Indian Caribbean players playing in a league, right? Spinners will generally dominate. Usman Tariq, he played 10 in 10 innings, picked up 20 wickets, average of 13.95, economy of 7.31. Right, Gudi Kishmoti third. So here we have an active international player for the West Indies. You know, he picked up 18 wickets at 16.05, economy of 7.28. So Gudi Kishmoti holding out their third. Shamsi, the spinning wizard from out of South Africa, basically got off to a slow start in the tournament and then picked up. He finished off with 17 wickets, 16.17 apiece, 7.23 was is the economy. And at fifth, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. At fifth we have Pretorius, so another overseas player here, representing the Guyana Amazon Warriors. 17 wickets at 20.29, economy of 8.02. And finally, the sixth spot, Wakar Salam Keel, representing St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. 15 wickets at 22, average of, economy of 8.46. So Salam Keel doing his thing there. And then we have a couple of other players that didn't do too badly, right? You know, you're gonna have the likes of Jason Hole, who would hold his own, you know, Akil Hussein, and these guys. Now, in terms of local players, local talent, you know, that they are probably not fully established when it comes on to T20 cricket, but I think that they did probably, I don't want to say well, but you know, they showed that they have something to work with. You know, Samson, he did pretty well, making a late charge in the back end of the tournament. Quinton Sampson, so he's a name that I want to highlight. Didn't make it in the top 10 or anything, but you know, did pretty well, I would say. Jaden Seals also bowled well in a few games for St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots. As we know, he is the leader of our bowling attack where red ball cricket is concerned, right? So good to see him, you know, shaping up nicely in terms of transferring his skills to this format. Gore also didn't look too bad. Karima Gore, you know, another player that, you know, I think that with time he can definitely go on to do good things. Mutara also, you know, didn't play a lot of games. You know, leg spinner, played in a game where he was taken apart. I think he was against don't remember if it was against TKR, but you know, he's a young leg spinner. A lot to learn. Hopefully they will work with him, but I enjoyed seeing him. You know, Akeem Ogis, we know how talented he is. The former West Indies under 19 captain. You know, these guys, when at the under 19 level, we were saying, boy, you know, these guys will go on to play some red ball cricket and thing, but we know it's not a lot of 4-day cricket to be played. The guys still have to earn, so you know, they will definitely try to get into some T20 cricket. He didn't look too bad in a few games. Kadeem Alain, another player, has some talent. you know, didn't do as well as we expected, but you know, good little good player. Amir Django, you know, he's mostly seen as a player that will stay at the wicket, build partnership with whoever is there, you know, rotate, strike. We would have seen him a couple of times, you know, doing his thing. Not saying that they need to put him in the West Indies team, but he's another player that he didn't look too bad at all. I think he had like 3 or so half centuries, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Fabian Allen. Fabian Allen didn't do as much bowling as I thought he would. We saw him a few times with the bat, you know. Obviously, he's going to be good in the field, looked good in the outfield. He was recently called up to the West Indies team that will be touring Nepal. So working his way back, you know, he will definitely need to up his bowling and batting if he's to really get back a spot in the West Indies team. You know, we know we have 2 left arm spinners ahead of him, so you know he definitely needs to continue working. Bidasi, not too bad either. Another player that I think with time and work will continue to produce. Kyrie Peer, he was recently rewarded with a call up there to the test team that will be taking on India. I've said it before, Kyrie Peer, you know, doing good work in both red and white ball cricket. So, you know, he also looked good in a couple of innings. McKenny Clark, we saw him out there also giving a good account of himself. Gayston in the early part of the tournament showed some glimpse. Raymond Simmons, you know, young left arm pacer. Seema, good to see him there. Is another talent that I think, you know, they definitely need to take in hand. And Shamar Joseph, as we know, an established international player, not a lot of games under his belt, but when it comes on to T20 cricket, not as established test player, you would say, and he's finding his way in the ODI and T20 format at international level. So, you know, he also showed some good work, you know, bowled a couple of decent overs, didn't go for too many runs, probably didn't pick up a whole lot of wickets, but, you know, economical in some of the games. So he's another player there. But, you know, there are quite a few players, my viewers and subscribers, that I didn't mention, but I just figured, you know, outside of the top 6 bowlers and top 6 batters that I mentioned, these are some players that I wanted to highlight. Now, some players that going into the tournament we really and truly expected to do pretty well, but they, for some reason or another, they didn't really fire. You can look at somebody like you know, some of them were injured. You know, somebody like Alec Arthur is obviously at this stage you expect him to really stand up in the CPL and be a mainstay, right? He didn't fire as well as we would have expected. Brandon King was injured a couple games. Think he got a 98, not out in one game, but you know, he didn't do too well at all. Romara Shepherd wasn't, he didn't have the worst season, but you know, was expecting some more from him. He's now an established international player, doing well for West Indies and also doing well in tournaments in franchise leagues overseas. You know, it was expecting him to do some good work. Sheffield Rutherford played a couple of good knocks, but overall, I don't think it was his best tournament. I've always had Sheffield Rutherford as somebody that in the field has, you know, I would always say that his hands are safe, right? But he dropped quite a few simple catches in this tournament, you know, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. Didn't score as many runs as I would have liked. He bowled a lot though. He bowled a lot more than I anticipated. Good to see. You know, hopefully we'll continue doing that. Shimran Hetmeyer played a couple good innings, especially in the early part of the tournament. But I think in the latter stages when we wanted to see some more from him, he probably didn't stand up as much as we expected. Johnson Charles is an established player. Boy, defending champion, right? Did pretty well last year. He didn't have a good season for St. Lucia Kings at all. Didn't help in terms of I mean, he scored some runs, yes, but a lot of the times they were he was pretty slow. You know, once he got out of the power play, he struggled and then got out. If we're talking about there are a few more. If we're talking about overseas player or players, I think the main person that I really let us down was Quinton de Kock. Right, he came in as a player. We know of his talent, we know of his skill level, but he really and truly did not have a good tournament. Right, didn't have a good tournament, my people. So, you know, and he's a player that I really like him as a player, but he was really poor. So he's that one, my people. But yeah, that is pretty much it, my viewers and subscribers. Just wanted to talk a little bit about that. There are probably a few other things that, you know, I will touch on in another video, but I think all roads lead right now to India. So that is what we're going to be focusing on in the near future. Big up.